a video about this particular. Okay, is my network working properly? Why is there lag? Okay, I think it's fine now. So, okay, if you watch my lives after I've went live, please give me like a few minutes to wait for a few people to get on live, because the point of me going live is so that I can talk to people, as opposed to otherwise I could have just made like normal standard videos and you could watch whenever you wanted to watch. So I prefer to wait for a few people to log in and then, or rather to join the live, and then that's when I start. Um, Speaking about basically my thoughts on whatever it is that the title of the video is. So initially, initially I didn't want to comment on. I honestly didn't want to comment on this particular, what do you call it, situation between the both of them. Usually, for me personally, I don't like to do videos, popular videos. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of time or whatever the case is. I speak about things that truly interest me, as opposed to what's popular, right? So I wasn't going to do a video about this, but I was asked by a variety of people on what I think about what's happening. I was asked about what I think about Colby and what his future is in the welterweight division. So I thought, why not, do a live video and express essentially what I think about what's going to happen. Okay, I think a lot of you already know, but maybe let me recap, right? Obviously, Colby Covington released a video on Twitter or something like that, whereby he stated that he wants to, or rather, if Ian Garry wants to fight him, he has some requirements or stipulations, right? He said that I can't remember, but there's three requirements that he made for Ian Garry, which one of them includes, one includes Ian Garry turning on his comments on social media, which I've seen some YouTubers saying that it's not okay. Let me say specifically, MMA Joey. I think he was saying, well, are you saying that he should turn on his comments so that people can harass him and all those type of things? I would agree with that only if Ian Gary wasn't doing what he's doing to other people. He nearly caused, I don't know what's happening with Neil Magny's um, custody case and all those type of things. But his reaction or his behavior has caused and influenced a situation in someone else's lives whereby they could end up losing their children. He mocked, what do you call him? The guy who was fighting Neil something, something. The guy who he was fighting like recently. I forgot his name, his full name. I know, what do you call him? What's his name? What's his name? But nonetheless, he made like a mock shot along with his wife, right? The problem is Ian Gary, I think his wife inserted herself into this situation from the beginning. So because of that, then he's a part of this whole situation. I don't condone any form of abuse, whether it's digital or otherwise. My point is to say that when you start harassing or being involved in someone else's putting down or harassment, then you shouldn't be surprised when it comes back to you, right? If I come to you and I start harassing you, and then my friend is here giving me advice on how to do it, then it shouldn't be a surprise when there's a retaliation against me and my friend. Because even though I was the one who was doing the harassment, but my friend was involved as well, right? So I don't know why people are acting like his wife is innocent in all of this. I don't condone her being bullied or whatever the case is, but when you start something, you have to be willing to accept the consequences of it, right? So I agree with the fact that Ian Gary should turn on his comments, because he is openly saying that he's going to monetize any situation or take advantage of any situation. It doesn't matter how it affects you, as long as it's not illegal, and it benefits him. which is the situation with Neil Magny. I don't think he believes the guy is a bad guy, but he took advantage of that situation. So if you can dish it out, you should be able to take it. I agree with that particular point. The second one was that I think Ian Garry is supposed to beg, go down on his knees and beg. Like that's stupid. I don't understand why even Colby would even request that. Like they are contracted to the UFC to fight. Like why should he beg? That's your job, dude. And you've been losing. I don't know how many times. To obviously to the champ, but largely because he was choosing his fights, right? And then the third one was that he is going to basically he's saying he wants to sleep with Ian Gary's wife or something like that. He doesn't say it clearly, but I think any normal person with a working brain can actually see what Colby is saying. He's saying he's going to take his girl and all those type of things, and all. So I don't really understand why he's adding those type of things. The first one I can agree to, but the next two are stupid in my opinion. And then Ian Garry responded and obviously highlighted the fact that Colby Covington does not have any ranked wins, like the current wins. Not he hasn't beaten any ranked contenders. Obviously, he's done it in the past, but when we talk about currently ranked fighters from number one, from the champion actually up until the number 15, or even beyond the number 15, Colby has not beaten any of those particular people. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Colby Covington has only three wins against active UFC fighters. So fighters who are actually currently fighting in the UFC, I think there's only three of them, and I don't think they are ranked. Those people. No, he beat RDA, who is ranked at the lightweight, I think. So yeah, but nonetheless, in the welterweight division, Colby has no win against any of the people who are ranked, especially in the top 15, right? Ian Garry pointed that out, which was a good point. He pointed out the fact that Colby has lost the three title shots. And I think two of them he didn't deserve, but nonetheless, he lost the three title shots, right? And he basically challenged him to a WWE like match whereby it was like, I challenge you to an I quit match, which is basically a standard MMA fight. It's either you're going to get a decision or you're going to submit him or finish him via knockout. So I don't know if anyone is going to say I quit. You're either going to be knocked out or you're going to be submitted, which is basically saying I quit. Tapping is the equivalent of saying I quit, and I don't see Ian Garry submitting Colby Covington, right? So here's my thoughts on this particular back and forth, right? Some people were asking me this question, and here's what I think. Number one, I was asked, what do I think happens after this if Colby Covington loses this fight? Before I get to that point, I want to highlight the fact that I've been saying for a very long time that Colby Covington is not necessarily top five level, right? If Colby Covington had actually decided to stay active after losing, he would have ended up like Dominic Reyes, right? After fighting John Jones. I think a lot of people give Colby Covington too much credit for having a close fight with Kamaru Usman, whereas Dominic Reyes had the same situation with John Jones. But look at the path that Dominic Reyes went on, and look at the path that John Jones went on, right? John Jones went on to win like the heavyweight title, and then Dominic Reyes went on to go on a losing streak, right? So it doesn't mean if you and he arguably won the fight against John Jones, but look at the career paths that they took. So people gave Colby too much credit for surviving in a match with Kamaru Usman, which was I don't think was very smart because styles makes matches rather. And people forget also that Kamaru Usman didn't know how to strike up until he joined the coach. What's his name? who trains Justin Gaethje and Rose Namajunas. I don't know if she's training there anymore, but it wasn't like 2 3 years ago. That's when Usman started like properly trying to strike and all those type of things. Um, I think I'm receiving a call. Okay, I'm not going to answer it. So yeah, basically, Usman started to strike about 3 years ago, right? So who's this? I'll call you back. I'll call you back, my dude. So about what do you call it? About 3 years ago, yes. This person is busy disturbing my life. So about 3 years ago, that's when Usman started striking. Before then, he wasn't really good at striking. His main offensive style was wrestling, which was the same as Colby. So essentially, the reason why they went to a close, or rather, they've been in such close fights, is because Usman was never originally a striker. He was a wrestler. Similarly with Colby. So when you eliminate those two, you find the situation whereby they have to stand with each other. So obviously the fight will be close because neither of them are strikers. Like that makes sense. So I think a lot of people gave him too much credit for that. But moving on, right? I think Ian Garry is probably the easiest contender, young contender, new contender at welterweight that Colby Covington can fight. Not necessarily saying that that means Colby can beat Ian. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you look at people like Bilal, people like Shavkat Rakhmonov, people like Sean Brady, people like what do you call him, Jack Della Maddalena. Those people who are in the top 10, top 5 of the welterweight division, out of all those people, I think Ian Garry is the least dangerous of all of them. Number one, because Ian Garry mostly wins via decision. He hardly ever finishes fights. Whereas all these other people, well, Bilal doesn't finish fights as much, but he finished, what do you call him? Brady. So he has that ability. And also he has the wrestling abilities. But usually Ian Garry wins decisions as opposed to finishes, right? So, and he doesn't have that great of a takedown defense. So it makes it a little bit more winnable for Colby Covington. And I know he was saying he wants to fight Wonderboy Thompson because he likes fighting all the people who he can take down, who don't have like that much wrestling. But nonetheless, fortunately, I don't think it's going to happen because the most likely situation that's going to happen is, what do you call him? Wonder Boy is probably going to fight Michael Venom Page. I don't think the UFC is going to give him Wonder Boy. So the next best thing is Ian Garry, in my opinion. So that particular fight is winnable. I don't think Colby is going to win that fight, but out of all the prospects, I don't think he has a higher probability of. I honestly don't see him beating, what do you call him, Sean Brady. I don't see him beating Bilal. I don't see him beating Shafkat. I don't see him beating Jack Della Maddalena. That's the world where he can beat Ian Garry. It depends on what type of Colby gets into that particular fight. So basically, I honestly, it's an exciting fight, right? I'm also excited for that particular fight, especially obviously because of the back and forth. It makes the fight even that much better, and it makes it entertaining leading up to the fight. I don't have a problem with this particular fight. I think it's a great fight. I just wish it was against someone who actually had the ability to actually win, right? As opposed to making it close. Because I think Ian Garry might make it close. Because it's not like Colby cannot strike. He has learned over the years to actually have the ability to stand. And if he can stand long enough with Ian Garry, he might get some openings to actually take him down. And I don't know if Ian Garry is any good on the ground because we haven't seen him fight anyone who can actually test that to its highest possibility or its highest. So, which is something I think Colby can do. But I think Colby is past Even at his prime, I didn't think he was that good. So I think we are going to see a downhill. If Colby loses this fight, he won't have a choice. Number one, his whatever fans are remaining will drop significantly. And what will happen from that point on? The UFC will force him to fight who they are trying to build. And at that time, that person will probably be Rinat Fakhretdinov, which is going to be a very serious problem for him. Because Rinat is a problem. If you've been watching, if you don't know who Rinat is, I think go watch his matches in the UFC. Like the guy is insanely good. Imagine Shavkat Rakhmonov if you don't know who this guy is. So Rinat is really good. So that's the next opponent I assume they are going to give him. Um, so yeah, this is where my stream ends. I appreciate all of you. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. For now, deuces.